Did Donald Trump confess to being played by Vladimir Putin? Well, sort of. Now, this happened in the context of an interview with the Washington Examiner, where he finally took a step back, looked at what Putin was doing through this invasion in Ukraine and thought, seems like he's not such a great guy after all. So let me give you the statements. He says, quote, I'm surprised. I thought he was negotiating when he sent his troops to the border. I thought he was negotiating. I thought it was a tough way to negotiate, but a smart way to negotiate. So look, that one quote, I'm not gonna be too harsh on, because I think a lot of people, myself included, like genuinely did not think that Putin would do something incredibly dumb and irrational like invading Ukraine. And yes, he's done it before to annex Crimea. But there were so many things that would work against him, including losing, an energy deal with Germany, more sanctions implemented by the United States. It just didn't really seem to be something that would serve his interests. But he went for it anyway, okay? With that said, that's the only quote I'm not gonna be harsh on. Let's go to the other quotes. I figured he was going to make a good deal like everybody else does with the United States and the other people they tend to deal with, like every trade deal. We've never made a good trade deal until I came along.
Never, not once in American history.
No, but like his inability to not make it about himself is incredible. It really is. It really, like everybody does with the United States, except no, they always made bad deals. People are saying I made the best deals. I made the best trade deals, except soybean farmers in the middle of the country went bankrupt because of your not so well thought out trade war with China.
Look, I don't know what's wrong with right wingers, and I say that very literally. So for example, you guys are watching the show. Presumably, you kind of like the show, although some of you I know are hate watching, and that's fun.
We love you anyway.
Okay, we're soft-hearted libs. We like you anyway. Anyways, you like this show, right? Presumably, you think I make some decent points. Now, how would you like it if I came out and said, there was no other good talk show before us? There was never any good hosts on air before me? Well, you wouldn't like me as much, right? Because then you sound like a jackass. Right wingers, why don't you see that in Trump? Who says that the US never made a good trade deal before me? I mean, what an absurd thing to say. Why would you like a weirdo, unsubstantiated braggart like that? You wouldn't like him in your personal life, would you? If some car salesman that you knew was like, there was no good car salesman until me.
Cenk. What you fail to understand is the alpha males are back.
To choose to be a beta to this guy. All right, everybody make your own choices.
There's more. This is probably my favorite quote. And then he went in meeting Putin. And then he went in, and I think he's changed. It's a very sad thing for the world. He's very much changed.
Is he talking about Putin's plastic surgery?
No. He thinks that Putin was very smart, a genius, in fact.
And all of a sudden he turned dumb. That's kind of funny how that happened.
He just changed. Yeah, because his behavior today is so different from his behavior in previous years.
Yeah, when he was bombing the living crap out of Syria, and when he was murdering people in Chechnya and in Syria,
that was easy to ignore.
Yeah,
that was easy to ignore. I looked the other way.
Yeah, apparently he was a soft-hearted, wonderful guy. Putin was, and then all of a sudden, popularity ratings come out for Republicans and what they think of Putin. Turns out the Republican voters don't like Putin, and all of a sudden he's changed. He's changed. Not me. Not my opinion. He changed overnight from really good guy to all of a sudden weirdo dictator evil dude.
Now he claims.
By the way, he didn't even say that, of course. Sorry.
He didn't call him a dictator
because he's still kissing his ass.
So look, he loves to use any interview opportunity to do one of two things or two things simultaneously. Whine about what happened in the 2020 general election where he lost, or talk about how he's so much better than any other US president ever. So he said this, he said that he was not soft on Putin, okay? He was very, very hard on Putin. Quote, I've been very, very tough on Putin. I get a bad rap on that, Trump said, reiterating his claim that Russia never would have invaded Ukraine had he been president for fear of how he would respond. At the same time, I got along with him very well, but I got along with him I got along with most world leaders very well. No, let's keep it real. You got along well with the worst world leaders. You talked about falling in love with Kim Jong-un of North Korea. You talked about believing Putin over our intelligence community in regard to meddling in our elections. I mean, any authoritarian leader he was buddy-buddy with. Jair Bolsonaro of Brazil, Rodrigo Duterte of the Philippines. I mean,
King Salman in Saudi Arabia, the butcher of Riyadh.
He interfered, he got involved once it became clear that MBS is the one who ordered the assassination and decapitation of dismemberment of Jamal Khashoggi. He tried to provide cover for MBS. That's the point I'm trying to make here. So to say no, I'm the real tough guy. No, you're only tough to people who aren't in positions of power. And I just want to remind you guys of the kind of rhetoric that we heard from Trump when he was president in regard to Vladimir Putin. Watch.
Putin's a killer. A lot of killers. We got a lot of killers. Why you think our country's so innocent?
Just before Trump's inauguration, the president said he was open to lifting Russian sanctions. He goes a step further, proposing a cyber unit with Russia, the country that had just attacked the US. And I quote, an impenetrable cybersecurity unit so that election hacking and many other negative things will be guarded.
I was in Russia. I was in Moscow recently, and I spoke indirectly and directly with President Putin, who could not have been nicer.
After Putin kicked out US diplomats to retaliate against sanctions, the president thanked him.
I want to thank him because we're trying to cut down on payroll. I'm very thankful that he let go of a large number of people. We'll save a lot of money. Putin of Russia, 100%. Joe has lost it. In his best day, he wasn't a smart man. Everybody knows that.
Would you now, with the whole world watching, tell President Putin, would you denounce what happened in 2016, and would you warn him to never do it again?
My people came to me, Dan Coates came to me, and some others. They said they think it's Russia. I have President Putin. He just said it's not Russia. I will say this, I don't see any reason why it would be.
Look at how tough he was on Vladimir Putin.
Yeah.
Impressive, it really is, very impressive.
You know what's interesting is you watch that last clip, that was Putin at his height of power. He's getting the American president to kneel before him. Now Trump's out of office and Putin is in massive trouble. He overstepped. Biden kicked his ass with economic sanctions. The oligarchs have turned against him and he's in a world of hurt. And it turns out he wasn't that powerful after all. He was a paper tiger. But we never knew under Trump because Trump was too busy kissing his ass. You just saw the tape. I mean, he says he's tough on Putin. Maybe he means tough on pudding. I could see that in his waistline. But Putin, I mean, you just saw the tape. I mean, oh, he got rid of the Americans there. I mean, saves us on salaries. Oh, you're the weakest man in America. Guys, look at the one thing that's in there that is just unbelievable. I don't want you to just go right past it. After the Russians broke into our systems in the 2016 election, and Trump didn't coordinate with them, okay? But they did break in, no one disputes that, right? And they did get the emails, and then the emails were leaked. We had the emails, we read, everybody knows that's an absolute fact, right? So after the Russians infiltrate our systems in America, he says we should do a cybersecurity team with them and let them be in charge of our cybersecurity. No, that's handing the country over to them. Now, of course, we never did that because everybody else in the government was like, are you mental? No, we are not gonna let the Russians be in charge of our cybersecurity.
Can you imagine? I mean, you guys, how can anyone argue that Trump wasn't, I don't know the extent to which they have deals going on, I don't know. But there's no question that Trump made it a priority to constantly defend Vladimir Putin. And if he doesn't have business deals with Russia, I don't understand why he would do that. Trump doesn't bat for anyone but Trump, okay? So if he's out there defending someone, it's because he's getting something out of it. That's just who he is. That's who he is. That's who he has proven himself to be again and again and again.
And in fact, on the Saudis, now this was before he was president, but they were doing horrible things back then. And somebody asked him about it. He said, Well, they gave me $30, $40 million in an apartment. What am I supposed to do, not like them? In other words, you can go and kill anybody you like, but as long as you give me money, you're good to go. How obvious is it that he's corrupt? What is wrong with you right-wingers? How could you not see it? It's plain as day. Last thing, guys, now on to politics, American politics for a second. This has given an opening to another Republican because both Trump and Tucker Carlson are on the Putin side, and that's an unpopular side. Now we're gonna see if any other Republican politician in the country has a spine. Because if you were smart and savvy and tough, this is when you would step in and say, I've had enough of Donald Trump kissing Vladimir Putin's ass.
Let me just say, Governor Ron DeSantis has been very quiet.
Exactly what I was thinking,
and
Anna.
has focused on what kind of issues, Cenk?
Culture war issues.
Yes.
Yes, and so because he knows culture war issues are winning strategy.
Bread and butter for the Republican
right
voters.
Now, Republicans are still much more open to Putin, and they say if you have leaders that are praising Putin, is that a problem? Democrats 86% say yes. Among Republicans, it's only 81% of Democrats. It's only 45% of Republicans. So Republicans get it. They still have leaders kissing Putin's ass, and they don't mind it too much. But overall, 3/4 of Republicans are against Putin. 3/4. It just takes one Republican politician with actual strength to come in and go, that's right, you guys are right. Putin's a monster, he's killing all those good white folks in Ukraine, okay? Now, I can't believe Trump's doing this. But so far, DeSantis is clever, but a little clever by half. He's hiding in a bush somewhere, but this would be the time to strike, and he hasn't shown the courage to do that yet. Thanks for watching The Young Turks, really appreciate it. Another way to show support is through YouTube memberships. You'll get to interact with us more. There's live chat emojis, badges. You've got emojis of me, Anna, John, JR. So those are super fun. But you also get playback of our exclusive member-only shows and specials right after they air. So all of that, all you gotta do is click that join button right underneath the video. Thank you.